Welcome, everybody, to the June 17th, 2025 Portsmouth Police Commission meeting. I call this meeting to order and ask that everyone rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everybody. We have a full crowd tonight, which means only one thing, that there are some awards and recognition ceremony tonight, which we're pleased to be a part of. And so with that, I'll take a motion to suspend the regular agenda and move to the chief's report for those awards.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Chief, take it away.
I'm passing the torch. We're going to start with some recognition that Officer Kyber is going to present.
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
Lieutenant Tondro and I stand before you with immense pride and deep gratitude to recognize a group of professionals whose contributions are foundational to the future of the Portsmouth Police Department, and that being our FTOs. To be an FTO is to be a leader, a mentor, a teacher, and sometimes even a lifeline. It's not a role for the faint of heart. It demands patience, consistency, and the ability to instill both skill and character in those just beginning their journey in the law enforcement career. It's especially challenging when done on the scale that we've seen over the past 2 years. More than half of our line-ranking patrol officers have less than 5 years experience. And another statistic for you, since 2020, our FTO program has put over 30 officers through the entire program. And you're talking 3 FTOs per trainee on average, and that's a significant workload in those short 4.5 years. The job of an FTO is relentless. There are long days filled with not just tactical training, but moral coaching and personal encouragement, and countless teaching moments. You take raw potential and shape it into professional readiness. You don't just show new hires how to do the job, you show them why it matters. And you also show them how high our standards are here at the PPD and why that matters. Ask any officer if they remember their FTOs, and the answer will undoubtedly be yes. Today we celebrate not only FTOs' tireless work and their unshakable commitment to excellence, but also a new chapter in how we honor that commitment. It is our pleasure to formally present for the first time in our agency's history the official Field Officers Training Uniform Patch. This patch is more than just a piece of fabric. It is a symbol of distinction. It's earned through perseverance, leadership, and an unwavering belief in the future of our profession. From today forward, it will serve as a visible reminder to everyone of the critical role you all play in shaping the culture, standards, and strengths of our team. Wearing this patch is not just an honor, it's a legacy. It tells every trainee, every colleague, and every community member, here's a teacher, mentor, and example of how this job should be done. So to each and every one of our field training officers, thank you. Thank you for your sacrifice, your patience, your professionalism, and your heart. You have done more than train officers. You have laid the groundwork for generations of service yet to come. Congratulations on receiving this historic recognition. You've earned it, and we are all better for it. Thank you. So we would now like to call up individual FTOs and recognize them. Master Patrol Officer William Werner. Officer Jack Maloney. Officer Alex Mulcahy. Officer Will Mahoney. Officer Nick Young. Officer Robert Meyer. And Officer Tim Conroy. Officer Joe Melanson, Officer Josh Hale, and Officer Alex McMillan could not be here tonight, along with Officer Lynn Thomas. They had other arrangements, other plans, so they couldn't make it, unfortunately, but we still would like to recognize them. And there are many FTOs that have come and gone through the years that we've lost to administrative or supervisory positions, as well as detective divisions, and obviously this doesn't diminish their accomplishments as well for us. So thank you very much, gentlemen. Nice job, brother. Great job.
All right, next, I'm up. Can't pass this along anymore. It was a great job, Chris, in presenting that. I know that you could put a lot of time and effort into the FTO program and to recognize the officers. Obviously, we've been training a lot of officers because we're hiring a new officer every other week. So it's something that is well respected within our department. Now we'll move on to some honorable service medals. And this will be for Sergeant Matt Young, Master Patrolman Bill Warner, and Officer Ian Estetheo, and Officer Jeff Rohde. I'd like to take a moment to recognize the outstanding actions of several officers during a potentially life-threatening incident earlier this year. On February 15th, around 12:15 a.m., we received a call from out of state. A concerned brother in Florida reporting that his sibling was intoxicated, disoriented, and lost somewhere in Portsmouth after leaving a bar on Islington Street. The only clue we had was his last known phone location near Barbary Lane. Then the signal went dark. Officer Estetheo, Officer Rohde, and Bill Warner immediately began canvassing the area. They followed what appeared to be fresh footprints in the snow, even noticing signs that someone had fallen. Despite their efforts, they weren't able to immediately locate him. Sergeant Matt Young didn't give up. He extended the search, following the train tracks nearly a mile from Barbary Lane to the area near Lighthouse Credit Union. His determination paid off. An hour after the initial call, he found the subject cold, disoriented, and clearly suffering from exposure in 19-degree weather. Thanks to the quick response, teamwork, and persistence of our officers, the man was found alive and was able to receive the medical care he needed. The actions of these officers that night were a reminder of the importance of thoroughness, compassion, and never giving up when a life may be on the line. We're proud to recognize their efforts this evening. If Matt, take these off so I can see. Bill, is he in here? Not here? Jeff. Oh, there it is. Give you your certificates. Here's yours. You. Next, we're going to recognize Detective Rochelle Jones, who probably leaves the department in recognition. I'd like to acknowledge Detective Rochelle Jones for her work in coordinating the return of the Portsmouth Police Department Citizen Police Academy. Detective Jones took on this project from the ground up, promoting the academy, reviewing applicants, organizing weekly topics, coordinating presenters, and managing logistics like ride-alongs, materials, and graduation. Thanks to our efforts, 15 community members were able to gain valuable insight into the work we do and build a strong connection with our department. The feedback was overwhelmingly positive, and Rochelle's leadership was a key reason the program ran smoothly and successfully. Detective Jones, thank you for your hard work and attention to detail. Your efforts made a real difference, and we appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Kathy.
Next to be recognized is our accreditation manager, Kate Young. I know I saw her. There she is. Come on up, Kate. We just had the honor of going through another CALEA site assessment, remote assessment. There's so many different assessments through CALEA, but so Kate has only been here since October. She was drinking out of a fire hose and has done a wonderful job. I'd like to take a moment to recognize someone who has quietly made a major impact behind the scenes, our accreditation manager, Kate Young. Kate joined the police department in October of '24 with no prior background in law enforcement accreditation. In just 6 months, she dove into learning over 460 CALEA standards, mastered the Power DMS system that houses all our accreditation files, addressed a number of incomplete files from previous years, and prepared us for an important annual review. Thanks to her hard work and collaboration with staff across the department, we achieved 100% compliance. An outstanding accomplishment, especially for someone so new to the field. Kate, your professionalism, dedication, and attention to detail have set a high standard. Thank you for the positive impact you've already made on our department. Congratulations and well done.
Thank you.
And with that, that's a wrap on our recognition tonight. So if you guys would like to leave and go to dinner, now's the time to break away, or you can join us and be entertained by the commission and what's going on with the PD.
Thanks again for coming to
Well, it was all mine.
Public comment, I'm shocked. Ever since I dispensed with Lisa Walford, it's been fine.
I know. That seems like eons ago.
Doesn't it?
You know, it was great. We're going to get back to our regularly scheduled programming. We saw Detective Jones being honored today for her work setting up the Citizens Academy, and I had the good pleasure of watching Detective Jones hold court today with elementary school kids. The Cops and Kids event this was held today at Little Harbor School, which I was able to attend. And it was just a really fun event. A number of the officers who received awards today were present, engaging with the elementary school kids and allowing them to see the different equipment that the police department uses in the course of business. And it was a great event. So it's nice to then come back later on this evening and watch awards being presented. With that, we'll move on to the acceptance of the minutes from May 20th, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Public comment, now that the awards and recognitions have been completed, it's pretty empty in these here parts, so we'll move right into new business, beginning with the facilities update. The Blue Ribbon Committee met last week. We were supposed to meet, it was tomorrow, but that meeting has been canceled and continued to the following week. Check the municipal calendar for the exact date and time. I don't think that's been finalized. The reason the meeting was continued and what everything is sort of hinging on at this point is the final matrix study. We thought it was going to be complete for tomorrow. It is not. We anticipate it will be complete for next week. And so once that matrix study, the final draft or the final copy of that matrix study is released, then we'll be able to move forward with some of the issues relative to the staffing study with respect to size of a building, a police facility, and all the attendant issues tied to that. So that's kind of where we are with the Blue Ribbon Committee progress. Does anybody have anything else? No. Along with that, the only other thing is that there's some efforts to get a design team to talk about some of the architect, this as it relates to this use of space. Community priorities.
I would point out in terms of community priorities, we've seen a great success over the last 2 years, really, of involving the department with statewide rapid response teams. And unfortunately, the word coming out of Concord, that's a state-funded program, is that the money allocated to that program may well be cut. So for those of you who are listening who care about what a huge positive difference the availability of the rapid response team has made in the police department's ability to respond to mental health residents who are in mental health crisis with a variety of responses rather than just a pure law enforcement response. It's really been a wonderful thing to see, and we've seen our mental health calls numbers go down substantially, in part because of that and in part because of the social worker we hired. So for those of you who care about this and want to have some influence, please call anybody you know in the state Senate and the state House of Representatives to lobby for this.
I think you're right, Commissioner Schur. Did you want to? I think what we've seen, and we have, in our own little world, data that supports it, that mental health calls, that we're having fewer arrests, fewer mental health calls because of use of this rapid response team. And that translates directly to cost savings. These are people by having interventions that are not we're dual interventions, so not exclusively law enforcement. We're not making arrests. That means we're not holding people at the jail where they're able to go to the hospital. These are directly related to tax savings for our community, but not just tax savings, also a more appropriate treatment-based resolution or intervention during these circumstances. So we really have seen it. And what we've seen from the data of the crime analysts report, some of the data is that there's actually some serious crime that is increasing. However, but at the same time, our arrests and mental health calls are going down. And obviously, it's a contribution of many factors, including all the training here at the police department, but the rapid response teams are critical to that. Thank you, Commissioner Scher, for bringing that to our attention. Anything else with respect to community priorities? The only thing I'd like to mention is that I've seen officers with body-worn cameras in action.
Yes, we had a couple in here today that,
Yeah.
on the first rollout, last week, they went through the training, so it hasn't even been a week yet that I think we've had a couple of cameras on the street, and consecutively now for the next couple of weeks, we'll be adding more and more officers. We'll be getting them, and they've added another dimension to the police department, and everybody's actually liking them and looking forward to getting them. So
Yeah, I talked to a few officers today, and the ones that are using them like them. They say it's pretty intuitive, and it's a good resource. So I think as some of these community priorities we've worked, it seems like forever without making a lot of progress, and then it's more step function than incremental. Or gradual, I should say. And here's a step function of getting those body-worn cameras. And I know, Commissioner Scher, you were instrumental in this effort as well.
Well, I was just thinking, the chief and I know, we go back, 6 years now, 6 or 7 years, where we started out this process with a subcommittee to the Police Commission looking at body-worn cameras. That did not, in the first instance, fare all that well, shall we say. But it's really wonderful to, and there was not a overwhelmingly positive first reaction in the police department to the idea of body-worn cameras. But it's just delightful to see how things have changed and what a great positive change this is for the department.
It offers a lot of information, so it's great to have. It's a great resource, and I think will be a great resource for both the community and for the police department going forward. All right, well, that pretty much sums up our police commission agenda. Does anybody else have anything else they'd like to share from the police commission standpoint? Okay, Chief, turning it back to you.
Right, there's not a whole lot on here today, so I think I'm going right down to the crime report. Deputy Maloney is missing tonight. He's got kids at 2 graduations, one from elementary school and one from the middle school. So I will be reading his reports. So the crime analyst report for June, looking at comparisons from last year, our calls are down. Last year we averaged about just under 18,000 calls at 17,968, and the same period this year, well, I should state back that that's the average of the last 3 years, 2022 through 2024. January 1st through May 31st this year of 25, we're at 16,082, percentage change of down 10.5%. Our arrests, we're at 385, we're at 371, down 3.7%. Our DWI arrests, we're at 42, we're at 38, down 8.8%. Reports are 1,022 previously at 869, minus 15%. Reported motor vehicle accidents, 184 down to 181, down 1.5%. Motor vehicle stops and offenses was 3,517. We are now at 2,994, down 14.9%. As we were just talking about mental health calls, the IEAs were at 24, we're at 25, so we're up 0.42% on that one. And juvenile calls have gone down dramatically from 82 to 56, reduced to 31.4%. Looking at these and what may have caused those drops, I think there's just multiple factors, but I'd like to think that, our presence and other alternative solutions out there and social avenues, like we talked about rapid response, have helped and cut down those numbers. And, you know, being the optimist that I am, is that more people just following the rules.
Well, I mean, I think some of it, though, as it relates to some of the motor vehicle stops and offenses, are probably related to some of the staffing challenges and, you know,
Right.
our numbers.
I also want to compliment the crime analyst and the department for the really helpful pie charts on the second page of our report. They really
You're right. So,
make things
you know,
easier to understand.
Casey, our crime analyst, has been really great. She's the longer she's here, she's getting more and more involved in being able to create more effective reports for us and really pinpoint, target different things. So if you look at her activity report, she's got pie charts breaking down our top offense reports, the top arrest descriptions, and where our top 10 agency activities are. So for the month of May, it looks like our biggest offense reports was juvenile matters at 17, then followed by conduct after an accident, which is 15. Looking at arrest, the top two arrest incidents, number one was the DWIs at 10, and driving after suspension at 8. Looking at our activity, you know, the self-initiated activity by our officers, property checks and motor vehicle stops were the top two items there.
Could you describe, it's listed, property checks are listed as officer-initiated activity. What's a property check that's initiated by the officer?
So basically, when they're not responding to calls and not doing motor vehicle work and they're just out there doing their patrols, they sign off at different, it could be businesses, neighborhoods, checking just people's property to make sure things are secure and, you know, nothing's out of place. So, and that's just initiated by the officer. It's not mandated. It's just part of their daily duties of taking the time to be proactive and try to prevent crime in our community.
And to me, you know, one of the things that I've always viewed as the best kind of policing is when the police have a presence, not a militaristic presence, but just a presence that people in the community know they're around, and that, I think, makes an incredibly positive difference in preventing crime that might otherwise occur.
Right, and we make a preference with our officers to try to be as visible as possible, and you know, again, that works as a deterrent to deter crime, because when I see police, you know, generally people who are there to do things that they shouldn't be doing decide not to do it, or they're going to do it somewhere else, and for the most part, it's not that somewhere else is outside of Portsmouth, so.
Heading to Hampton.
Looking at traffic stats for the last month, it was 733 motor vehicle stops, stated before, 69 more than the previous month. We issued 32 summonses, and there were 44 reportable motor vehicle crashes, which is 14 more than the previous month. I think that's, you know, we had the Memorial Day holiday, and you're starting to get to what should be the summer weather, which really hasn't been the summer weather, but obviously a lot more motor vehicle traffic, and that's with the uptick in calls and motor vehicle stops and accidents.
I apologize to the chief for not having any questions about the traffic stats.
And I'll pass the financials to Karen.
Commissioner, you can generate one.
We're almost to the end of the fiscal year. We're still tracking about 4% below the cap for this period. So we're continuing to do well. But I did want to, on the financial report, I did kind of want to explain the salary savings to overtime overage, because that seems to be a question constantly. In May, we have approximately $700,000 in salary savings, but then offsetting that, we have an overage of $20,000 in our part-time salary line. Basically, that's our on-call dispatcher line. We also have $454,000 approximately of overtime overage. So when you take that off, that reduces that down to about 233,000. Also off of that would have to come, excuse me, the additional like advertising costs, things that go into hiring people, training people and whatnot. They're called the hidden costs of salary savings or vacancies. We're almost 20,000 over in our advertising. We're almost 24,000 over in our officer outfits and things like that. So, you know, people look at that line and go, oh, $700,000. Well, when you take everything else off of it that counters that, it brings it down probably closer to 200,000 in reference to salary savings. There's also applicable benefits like retirement, Medicare, Social Security that go with that as well. But anyway, I just kind of wanted to, we don't over budget our overtime in anticipation of having vacancies. I would rather see the salary savings, very explainable, see the overage and overtime, very explainable, very visible, and that's kind of how we do it here. So, as stated, we're kind of in the end of our purchasing, our ammo, our printer cartridges, our office supplies and whatnot that we stock up on at the end of the fiscal year. In terms of grants, right now we're in the process of a very large ICAC, federal ICAC grant audit, and we haven't had one of these since 2001 when I first was hired. So I can't really complain that we haven't had one in over 20 years. We got the preliminary packet off to them yesterday, a lot of data. They responded back that they want a lot more data. So that's going to take quite a bit to do because it's for the 3 years of the prior grant and the first year of the new grant. So it's just a lot of data that we're going to have to pull together by Friday. So anyway, so I think that's going to go well. I looked at everything that they're looking for. We have everything packaged very neatly. We're just going to have to go to the archive room and grab some of it. But other than that, I think we'll do well on that audit.
Great. I mean, the ICAC work, the police department lease is wonderful, and so a big grant would be outstanding.
Correct.
So it's, I guess, to turn back to sort of salary savings versus overtime, just for anybody in the community. So what happens, I mean, the police department has to be staffed. It has mandatory staffing requirements. And so if those shifts, if the police department is down officers through a host of reasons, that money is, it's essentially turns out on which bucket is the money in, because what we're doing is we're taking money that would otherwise, go to an officer who would be on a staff officer, and we're using that money to fill the shift with overtime. So, it really turns, because the police department has to be staffed, has minimum staffing requirements, minimum shift requirements. Those shifts have to be filled, and so it really is a matter of the bucket, but the money is going to be spent either way, because we have to have officers.
And dispatchers.
And dispatchers, of course. But it's good news in dispatcher, hiring is going well, and we're very excited about that.
Knock on wood, we're almost there.
All right. Next, strategic plan, we're working on it.
I was going to say I had hoped to have it this week, but we got hit with the ICAC audit and deadlines there, so you should have it probably
Okay.
within a couple of days.
Well, we also have, the commissioners have the patrol division report as well as the court office report. Any other new business, old business? All right, our next meeting is July 15th, 2025, but make sure to check the municipal calendar, because especially in the summer months, things have a tendency to change with people depending on taking some vacation, much-deserved vacation time. It is, as Deputy Chief Maloney is not here because he's at graduation. School is ending. Tomorrow is the last day of school at the elementary schools and middle school, and high school too, I think.
But tomorrow's the last day of
Tomorrow's
school.
the last day of school. So with that, just a friendly reminder, there's going to be a lot more cars on the street for the summer with tourism and a lot more kids on the street on bikes and running around in skateboards. So be careful driving. And with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Have a great night, everyone.